Hi guys, Luke here of SimBoxx in association with Clint Patrick, and today we're back with another interview, and I'm delighted to be joined by Marcus Morrison. Marcus, first and foremost, how's things? How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm well. Another good session done this morning. Got another one to do later on, but yeah, I'm good, mate.
Yes, we're right in the thick of it, and we've got the recent announcement a couple of weeks now since it was announced of your fight with Chris Eubank Jr. A bit of a surprising announcement, I think it's fair to say. It took a lot of people by left field. Let's start with, how did the opportunity arise? Where did the opportunity to fight Chris Eubank Jr. come from?
It was a shock to me. It wasn't something that was in the pipeline. That was we was asking for. It wasn't anything like that. It was just a case of literally an opportunity that came up and one that I wasn't going to say no to. Got a phone call off Joe, my manager and trainer. And yeah, he basically, a long story short, he just said, look, we've had a phone call, an offer off the Sauerlands to fight Eubank Jr. May the 1st. What do you think? So, yeah, I jumped at the chance.
So it's going to be live on Sky Sports box office. It's a big card. Derek Chisora against Joseph Parker. You've got Katie Taylor on there against your stablemate, Sasha Jonas. It's a big card, a big platform to come back on, Marcus. You've had a little bit of time away from the ring, so to jump right back into the deep end, so to say, it's a massive platform.
Yeah, it's huge, and it's just how I'd want it. I've had a few small shows since I had a good win in Italy, and I've had a few small shows, flying under the radar. I had racked up a few wins, and I just think now is a good time to get back on the big screen, and yeah, I'm ready for it. Can't wait.
As the way of life is now, Marcus, you have social media and everyone has their opinions. Some of them positive, some of them negative. What's your reaction been to these guys?
Most of them negative.
You're being wrote off quite early. The fight's still 4 or 5 weeks away, and from a lot of point of views, you've been wrote off already. So what's your mindset to react to that? Do you just kind of ignore it? Do you accept it? Does it motivate you?
It was nothing that I didn't expect. I've said it before and I'll say it again, like, boxing fans are some of the hardest to please. You can't do right for do wrong sometimes, and in this case I took a fight which I don't think many people would turn down, especially given the form I've been on, and I know I've been at the ring for a long time, but I'm coming into my prime. I'm 28, and I just think if I was to turn this fight down and people found out, I'd get stick, and taking the fight, you get a stick. Don't get me wrong, there's the not the odd few, but the fair amount that are giving me a chance and saying that Marcus could cause an upset here, and not to take me lightly. And believe me, you shouldn't take me lightly. But yeah, the majority, same old fickle fans.
So do you accept the role as the underdog? Do you see?
Yeah, I'll thrive as an underdog. Like, it doesn't, if I'm honest, doesn't mean much to me. It doesn't mean anything to me. In fact, it was something that I expected. Yeah, like, it's another day at the office.
Absolutely. I spoke to Joe Gallagher not too long ago, and he mentioned, in a way, this is kind of win-win. That you're getting the opportunity on the big platform. You go in there as the underdog, as a live underdog, but there's no pressure on you. And if you go in there and you cause the upset, fantastic. You elevate your career exponentially. But then at the same time, if you was to get beat and you're going to put in the kind of performance that you are capable of, then other opportunities will come off the back of it. Of course, you're not looking at getting beat. You're going to focus on the win.
Yeah, of course. That's now, but listen, believe me, I'm going in this fight to win it. I'm fully focused on winning this fight, and yeah, I'm not. It is a win-win for me because look, I'm not expected to win the fight. This whole show, this whole fight's made for Chris Eubank to come back and look good and move on to bigger and better things in their eyes. But in my eyes, no, this is like a great opportunity for me. This is a career-changing opportunity for me, and I'd be a fool to let that go by and just get in there on May the 1st to make up the numbers and get a payday. So, only a few would think that, I'm only in there to make up the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not one to be overlooked. With Chris Eubank Jr., of course, he's got the big name with what his father's done, and he's now forging a career in his own right. Has he been one that's been like, in the back of your mind thinking, he could be a potential opponent down the line? Has he ever been like any sparring sessions or anything like that?
Not at all. I've seen him in the gym. Funny story is, good few years ago, I was probably maybe 14, 15 at the time, maybe younger, maybe 13, 14. He was trained. I was with another trainer, and they was working together in some way. I don't know whether he was working with Floyd Senior at the time, I think, and I'd seen Chris in the gym, and Chris was I think he was just sort of not turning pro. He was getting ready to sort of go into the pro ranks. He was trained as a pro. I think he's always trained as a professional fighter, and that was the first I came across Chris. And obviously since then he's turned pro and done some big things. He's been there with some big names. Obviously he's beat James DeGale. He's been there and gave Groves a tough fight. So, like, for me, it wasn't anything that I ever thought would happen, if I'm honest. And the move up to super middleweight, I know he often said that he's a middleweight and he can make middleweight, but I just always thought you're a super middleweight on sort of world level. So that was nothing I ever, it's not a fight I've ever asked for, ever called for. And I just thought, he's a super middleweight and he'll go on to fight for world titles soon, which, he was ready to do, obviously, before this, obviously, the Billy Joe and whatnot. But like I said, it was a shock to me as much as, the general public and the fans when it came out. But like I said, it was something I wasn't ever going to turn down.
Yeah, of course. So at the minute, you're currently in the middle of camp, no doubt, but we're obviously coming throughout the pandemic at the minute, and fingers crossed it's coming to an end. But how have you been keeping busy throughout the pandemic? You can see that, you're in good shape. I've seen you on social media posting clips of you working out. You're in great shape as always. Has that been something you've concentrated on in the time we've been in pandemic and lockdown?
Listen, boxing, anything can happen. You've got to stay ready because, if you think, I'll get back in it, I'll have a few weeks off, or even some of these fights having a few months off, you do that and you get a phone call for a fight in 6 weeks, there's no way you're going to be ready. You've got, as a professional athlete, as a professional boxer, you've got to stay ready. And I always knew that there would probably be a phone call that came through and I had to be ready for when it came. And luckily enough, well, not luckily enough, but as a true professional I stayed in the gym. So leading up to this announcement, I've been in the gym for weeks and months, ticking over to say. So when I got the phone call, I think I had about 8 weeks. But when I got the phone, I think I had about 8 weeks. So that was plenty of time for me to get fully fit, get a game plan together, and get ready for May the 1st. Especially with me, like I said, being in camp and training for a long time before that.
Do you think self-motivation is something that you're good at, that you're able to keep yourself motivated before you had this fight date and you're just trying to train in the hope of something coming up? Do you feel like you're quite strong in motivating yourself and keeping determined and focused on keeping in shape?
I think that's just sort of been installed in us from Joe. Joe always says, the phone can ring at any time and you've got to make sure you're ready. So I think you find a lot of Americans, they're in camp and they just do sort of a 12-week camp, and then, they only want 12 weeks before a fight. Whereas the way we think of it, it's our job. You don't just have, a few weeks out of work, every now and then. You stay in the gym, you fight on the Saturday, you might have a few days off and you've been within the week trying to stay fit and stay on top of things. So I think that's just something that's, all of us in the gym, we stay in the gym all year round and try and stay at least, 60 to 70% fit.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back a little bit, Marcus, while I've got the opportunity to speak to you. Let's go back to the fight in Italy. Probably the biggest win on your career so far. Yeah. And you knocked out Blandamura in 9 rounds, I think it was. A great victory on a big platform. And again, that was a fight that he was kind of, if you like, brought into as the opponent. I wouldn't say cannon fodder, you're better than cannon fodder, but you was brought in certainly as the opponent. You wasn't really expected to win by anyone outside of your camp, really. And yeah. You produced a knockout there. How much of a satisfying win was that? And picking up, I think it was the WBC silver international title as well.
Yeah. I think Booker's had me at 6-1. Lost a few quid there, they did. And yeah, again, that was all set up for him. They wanted to bring back boxing in Italy, and they wanted to build the show around him and bring him back to form. They thought, we'll bring a decent name over and turn him over and bring back, big time boxing to Italy. And yeah, again, I turned up and sparked the party. Going into that fight, I was in a good place, and I never had any doubt that I weren't going to truthfully knock Blandamura out. The scorecards had me down at the time, and still to this day, I've watched it a few times now, and there's no way I was down on the cards. So again, that was all built for him, around him, and so it's nothing new to me to sort of be the underdog, and the brought over to have a job done on me, to say.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that Blandamura fight, and not to go off subject, but I remember when I watched the fight, it was the weekend of my girlfriend. She graduated at university, and we was out in, I think it was Preston, and we was at a cocktail bar, and there was all the friends around, we was all celebrating, and I was sat in the corner just watching your fight on my phone, because I couldn't get it on anywhere. I was in this cocktail bar that didn't have sports, just sat on my phone watching your fight. I think there's a picture of me somewhere, someone took a picture and I'm sat watching the fight on the phone. It was a great win.
Yeah, again, that was another great opportunity that came up, and again, I was ready. I think at that time a fight just fell through for me, and I stayed in the gym again, and and that came up, and I was ready. I was already ready, so it was just a no-brainer for me to take that fight. And yeah, it was a great, like, these opportunities you don't come around often, and you've got to make sure that when you do, you're ready to go and perform. And it was a great experience. First time I fought out of the country, and to fight in that setting. I don't know if you've seen, but the arena, it was unbelievable. It was outside arena, and it was just a great experience. It was red hot. I think it's about 28 degrees, about 11 o'clock at night, which is something new for me. And to come away with a win and the experience was unbelievable.
As you mentioned earlier on that you're coming into your physical prime now, you're 28 years of age, you've got a record of 23-3. You're riding a wave of momentum at the minute. I think it's about 7 consecutive wins, but you do have those 3 losses on your record, and somewhat of they're almost like minor hiccups, if you like. But do you feel like you're able to erase those mishaps now, as you move forward into your physical prime? Do you feel like that's like in the past, and you've kind of corrected those mistakes in your game, those kind of flaws?
Yeah, definitely now. Those 3 losses, like, it's weird because it was all sort of at a similar time, if you like, and it just feels like instead of 3 losses, it just feels like one big loss. Like, it doesn't feel like 3 separate occasions; it just feels like one bad part of my career, which at the time really proper turned me over. It was hard to deal with, but obviously coming back off some good wins and being in the position I'm in now. I know how far I've come, and that's all behind me now, and I can safely say I've moved on from that and ready for bigger things.
Absolutely. So, Marcus, I wanted to touch on, as we mentioned earlier, with the card on May 1st, you've got your stablemate, a good friend of yours, I'm sure, in Sasha Jonas, going in with Katie Taylor, arguably the toughest test in female boxing. Katie Taylor is arguably pound for pound #1 female boxer on the planet. How focused and how ready is Sasha Jonas for this opportunity from what you've seen in the gym?
I've never seen Sasha in a better place than this. She's been on it, sparring, she's inspiring, pads, bags, and she's really knuckled down, and she couldn't be in a better place. And I think May the 1st, there could be a couple of upsets on the card, and it would be good to be there up close. And like I say, Katie Taylor's a great athlete. Done great things for women's boxing, but I just think Tasha's really put it in this camp, and she'll deserve everything she gets on the night.
Absolutely, we look forward to that fight. Marcus, recently we had Dillian Whyte rematch Alexander Povetkin. Did you manage to catch up with the fight?
I watched the fight, yeah, great fight.
What did you think going into the fight? Did you think Dillian Whyte was going to get revenge, or was you a bit worried and think that Povetkin might have had his number?
Yeah, I think the first fight was comfortable for Whyte. For me, he was well up and in real control of the fight. And obviously, heavyweight boxing, anything can happen. And it was sort of out of nowhere for me. And that it was over with one shot. But coming up to the second fight, I'd seen on social media and stuff how White was out in another country, and you could really tell that he had the bit between his teeth, and he was really knuckled down and grafting. So for me, it was no shock that he came in there and did what he did on the night. He looks really well.
Yeah, it was a good one. Of course, he's going to be targeting a fight with either Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. Do you think he stands a chance against those two? They looked at as the general consensus is that they're number one and number two in the heavyweight division. Do you think Dillian Whyte can upset the apple cart there if he gets the opportunity?
Yeah, I wouldn't argue the fact that AJ and Fury are 1 and 2. But listen, you've seen the first fight. I'm sure you would have seen the first fight with AJ and White. Yeah. White's dangerous, and he'll go out on his shield, and if he doesn't knock you out, he'll get knocked out, and it's the way he is. So that's a dangerous man, someone who's willing to put it all on the line. So White's dangerous for any heavyweight out there, and if he lands, listen, you'll go. And once he has you going, listen, there's no stopping him. Like I said, it's do or die in there for him. That's just sort of his mentality, I feel. And listen, he's a danger for any heavyweight out there. Do I think he can do it? I'd give him a better chance against Joshua than Fury. I think Fury, very clever heavyweight, and a very good boxer. And I just think White's got more of a chance of dragging someone like Joshua into a fight again than someone like Fury.
Absolutely. We look forward to those guys getting all in the mix, and especially Fury Joshua, but that's a subject for a conversation for another time. But just to finish with, Marcus, I'll give you the last word. What can we expect May 1st from Team Gallagher?
Bombs. It's going to be there's going to be fireworks. It's two explosive fighters going in there, and it's going to catch fire at some point, and anything can happen. Boxing.
Absolutely. We look forward to it, Marcus. Absolutely. And I wish you the very best for the fight. I'm sure we'll catch up after the fight, but I wish you the best of luck. Thanks for your time today, and best of luck.
Cheers.